All right, this is Jimmy Jive, and you're listening to Motor City Rock Talk. Today, my guest is Rob Miller, guitar player extraordinaire and a mighty fine dancer, from what I understand. Took dance lessons. Anyway, we're going to be talking about his experiences back in the day with Mad Hatter, band before that, Image, and we'll take it from there. Rob, how you doing today?
Jimmy, thank you very much for having me here today for the 14th time.
Yeah, well, 14th time is a charm.
Hey, I'd just like to say, give a hoot, don't pollute.
Yes. Wasn't that your uncle, the Indian guy with the tear and the pollution?
He was Uncle Yuch.
He was a great actor, though, and he wasn't even acting.
Hanta Yo.
All right, let's take you back to the early days. I remember seeing you in a band called Image.
Yep.
When my guitarist at that time.
Image, I-M-I-J, Jimmy backwards.
Yes. Very, very tricky to think of, very mind-blowing to remember, but either way. Anyway, my guitarist, Gary Galens, at the time, we were headband together. It was just the two of us, but we were a band. And he took guitar lessons from you at the
You were the White Stripes of your time.
Yes, except all we had was guitar and vocals, and they were
Very
both
different.
awful.
Very different.
They were both awful. And I remember Gary was learning to play, and you taught him his first song. I think it was "Hello There" from Cheap Trick, which was
all of one chord.
One chord, maybe two in one part. And then he learned a few other ones, and then we became the legends that nobody heard of. Anyway, like I said, we went and saw you guys in Image play at like some Battle of the Bands or something.
Right, it was in
Do you remember where that might have been?
Annapolis High School.
Annapolis High School. And all covers and stuff, but it was all really well rehearsed, well done. We thought you were rock stars.
Yeah.
But then again, we were young and stupid.
Believe it or not, though, by the time you saw that show, I mean, I was only a couple years older than you, and you were saying you were a kid, so I was a kid.
Yeah.
And we had already probably played literally 150 shows.
I know.
We played everywhere all the time as kids. I mean, somebody would have to drive us.
Yeah, you were like 16, and I was 14, and Gary was 12, or some kind of shit like that.
Yeah.
But you played a lot of classic rock, obviously, and all that. But I remember a song that stood out in my mind. Head East, Never Been Any Reason. Do you remember that song? Can you still play that song to this day?
I doubt it.
I doubt it. Did you pick that song? Or do
No.
you remember?
That was the first keyboard player we ever had, and he came in and he could play it, and we were like, wow, he can play that. Let's do it. So we figured it out. Matter of fact, we learned that song like the day before.
Wow, wouldn't know it, and you guys killed it.
We
and
were
this is like 40
because
years ago, folks, that I can remember.
That guy was a great keyboard player and all that. I mean, he was the only keyboard player I had ever really dealt with. But me and Danny and Julie were tight as tight because we had played so much together. So once we were on the groove, that was that. I mean, we were tight. But I remember Danny played Star Spangled Banner, Jimi Hendrix at that show.
Is it intro to the show?
Somewhere in the middle.
Really?
I got to go sit down for a minute. It was just him playing. There was I don't even think his sister played or nothing. It was just him. Yeah, it was crazy.
And his sister was what, the drummer?
Yeah, Julie LaJoy.
She was pretty darn good from what I remember.
Yeah.
And like I said, this is 40 years ago. And, this is a tribute to you that I can actually remember this.
Yeah.
I can remember the way your hair looked. I can remember the whole scene. And like I said.
I'll tell you what, I remember what I was wearing at that show. I had boots on up to here.
He's
that
pointing
laced
to his
all
knees,
up.
folks.
To my knee for you radio people. But it was, like I said before, that I thought the other band was going to win because they were playing this new song by this new band. And they played Running with the Devil.
Van Halen.
We were blown out. And we were doing like whipping posts.
Yeah.
We were.
That Go Garden song, did you do Jim Dandy?
We may have played it once, but after the one singer left, that was a Black Oak, Arkansas band.
Yeah.
The Jim Dandy Mangrum. Yeah, the mutants of the monster. Feeling the mind. An angel came to see you. Would you let her come inside?
This is a true story, too.
It is a true story, but I forgot what I was saying.
So something about your boots and your outfit.
No, I do remember that. I mean, it's like all seems like it just happened in minutes.
Yeah. Did you guys get any pictures of that band? Do you have any pictures?
No,
of
they didn't have cameras in that day. A guy came and tried
You
to
played by
chisel us on
candlelight.
stone once, but it just didn't work out. We moved too much.
All right, moving on from Image. What was your next big thrill?
Who is the most famous person in Image?
You were.
Davey Humbo.
I don't.
Bass player from Rhythm Corps.
Oh, he was in that.
Yeah,
group?
one of the first songs we were writing, and he wanted to show us a song he wrote, and we all were like, no. past, Broken Halos. He literally played that. We were kids. He wrote that song. We said, no.
You would have been on the radio right then and there.
Maybe.
You'd have been stars.
Maybe.
Bigger stars than you were.
Maybe.
So, all right then you were touched by something. But so what happened after Image? What'd you do after that?
Played in like Black Onyx. I played in a couple bands, Forthright with my cousin and a guy from Nobody's Children, Kevin Iltis.
Still doing covers, I imagine.
Yeah, we were doing like the Who and this and that. It didn't last very long, and then somehow I stumbled into you know how a band, when it goes down, I'm not gonna sit around. I'm gonna just move on to get what I want, and that's however anybody looks at it. I don't really care. I play music for me.
Right.
I mean, if the audience enjoys it, super. If the audience doesn't enjoy it, super.
It doesn't matter.
Right? What am I doing? I'm up there feeding a monster that's inside of me. So
Right.
I'm not really that. So I picked up my G.I. Joe toys and moved to the next band, and
Right.
I met Eric Legal. He played in a ton of bands locally, and we put together Mad Hatter. And
So-
I had Eugene Bucampano playing drums, Timmy Downs playing bass.
Around what
and
year
we-
was that you started Mad Hatter?
I would say, the original first Mad
Yeah.
Hatter, probably like 82, maybe 80.
So
82,
and you
somewhere
ended
in
around
there.
89, so
Yeah.
7 years is a pretty good run for a local band.
But we were like 100% not. We didn't. I was writing the whole time, but not what they were willing to do. They wanted to do a lot of covers. We were doing
Right.
so many covers. It was ridiculous. Not my thing. And so whatever happened, people left. It really ended up just being me and Tom. We ended up running into Pete Falk, and then somehow Mark Andrews showed up, or Mark Warren showed up. Andrews. Mark Warren, and and then Krusty came along after that pretty shortly. So the whole band came together, and it was like I just
Who's
said,
Krusty?
his name was Brian Smith, but not the Brian Smith everybody knows around here, because that's Super B.
Yeah, but why was he called Krusty?
Because he was crusty. That guy had more an Aquanet in his hair. You couldn't beat it down with a shovel. I mean, he just slept in it. It wasn't, that Aquanet wasn't working until it was in his hair for like 5 days through sleep. But he had the monster hair.
Yeah, I do remember that. He could have been the poster boy for
Yeah, he was a
Aquanet
little
those
shredder
days.
head. And so he was this, I always used to say, here comes the shred. And then when I would play, I'd go, watch out, there's a truck gonna run you over.
Right.
There was two different styles going on
Crusty.
there. But I just told him straight away, I'm like, I don't want to play all covers. I want to write music. I mean, we're playing, if these songs that you want to play, if these people didn't write them, we wouldn't have nothing to play.
Right, yeah, there
So
would
what
be
are we
no cover
doing
bands,
here?
right.
But funny enough, when we were playing weird songs. I mean, you were telling me some of
You
them.
were
and I
playing Sex
forgot 'em.
Action from LA Guns.
Right,
You played
weird
Surrender
shit.
from Cheap Trick.
Yeah, I think we played some Faster Pussycat.
Yeah. Babylon or some kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
and when we started going on the east side, we got that bus and the stupid bus, and we drove all over, pushing it through toll booths at 3 o'clock in the morning. A lot of not fun then,
Right.
fun afterward.
Sure.
You would get home after 5 weeks of that craziness with 6 cents in your pocket, hoping some stripper would make some garlic bread and spaghetti. That's how in Philadelphia. And you would be ready to go right back out. But we were in New Jersey playing, and some old school record dude from like RCA come and see us. We had our album. We were this band from Detroit, and everybody was like, it's funny how if you say you're from Detroit, the reaction you get no matter where you're at, as long as you're not in Detroit. People pretty much are like, oh, we're gonna get murdered for
They're
sure.
all afraid of you.
And it was like, look at these
They're carrying
freaks. I'm like,
switch
I'm
knives.
5'7". What am I gonna do?
That's a lucky number.
Yeah, at 5'7". And he asked what we were doing, and I really didn't know what he was talking about, And I'm like, well, we're playing this gig, and we're trying to sell these records. And he's like, yeah, but what are you doing? And I'm like, finally, is this a question? Tell me what you want, and I can answer it. I mean, everybody goes, are you a cover band or are you an original band? And I said, well, we're put this album out because we want to be. He goes, you can't be both. It's one or the other. And funny enough, I mean, I had said this to you before, and I said the same thing. It's like, well, this band, he goes, they're famous. They can do whatever they want.
Yeah, Yes.
You're not famous.
Yes.
So it's either you're a cover band or you're original. Right after that show, I'm like, I'm not doing any more covers to the band. So
That realization stunk
some
in.
would leak in here and
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
And especially songs that people didn't know the bands.
Right, right.
I mean, at that
You could
time,
sneak
nobody
it in.
knew who Faster Pussycat was.
Right.
If we didn't say anything,
Or
they
LA
probably
Guns,
thought it
yeah.
was us.
Yeah, exactly.
So we didn't say anything.
Yeah.
We weren't saying it was us.
Right,
But
right.
we weren't saying it was us. But yeah, there's realizations. I mean, you either catch it or you don't catch it. And for me, it really opened the door up. Right. And keep that up. But yeah, I mean, played a lot of shows in Mad Hatter.
Now, didn't you do most of the writing on this album? Did you write
Quite
most
a
of the
bit
songs?
of it. Yeah, I wrote my part for sure.
Right, I know, I
would
figured
walk in
that.
with the structure of the root of what we were going to do. And I would say, well, that's what I'm going to do. I don't know what you're going to do, but
Do
I'm
something about
assuming
this.
you're a professional and you can figure it out.
Were
You
they
know?
professional?
When it came to drinking, yes.
Yes. And hairstyles.
And-
No, you guys are very, very tight. These songs came out great live.
Yeah.
They had a great presentation and all that.
He is a good
great
drummer.
look.
I mean, if you have a good drummer,
Yeah, very
that's the
solid.
very first building block of anything.
absolutely.
So if your drummer's weak, it's going to be weak.
Yeah, no
And,
matter
I mean,
what.
If Jimi Hendrix had a weak drummer,
Right.
he'd still be Jimi Hendrix, but it wouldn't have
Yes.
come across the same way.
That's absolutely true.
It'd just be some guy blasting,
Right.
you know. So Pete was a good, and Tommy was, his own thing. He still sings. It's Pure Grain. They do all covers in that. I seen a video of him the other day, and he's still got long hair, and
Right.
and he does his thing, and he really sounds good because he's. I never said he was like a Pavarotti. He was a song stylist. He sang like he sang. That's why I liked him. He did what he did.
Right.
He wasn't the greatest singer in the world. I'm not the greatest guitar player in the world. We do what we do. And if you do it with conviction, that's all that really matters.
Right.
And he did. And he could entertain the people. And he knew, there wasn't a lot of dead time. Let's just say that. He wasn't a guy that just stood and stared at the audience.
Right.
He'd babble on about whatever.
Yeah, and he did. He did it quite well. I always thought he was a good front man.
Yeah, he was. And that's the thing. And like Mark had the look. He's this big,
Right.
he's a big dude, and he knew where
place.
he was in that band.
Right.
He set that pocket with Pete. He wasn't trying to showboat it like, look at me. But you looked at him because he did what he was there to do. So yeah, it was, wasn't my favorite style of music by any means.
Right.
But I mean,
It was of the time. And,
Right, and in my brain, I was thinking, well, if I can get in the door doing this or this or this later on, I can do it,
Right.
so which was retarded. I should have just did what I wanted all along. But I mean, I'm not saying I didn't have a great time doing this.
Right.
I got to put out a lot of my thoughts and what I wanted to do and what I wanted it to look. Again, we were saying before, I was the Alice Cooper, weaned on Alice Cooper, weaned on Hendrix, weaned on Hendrix, very visual.
Right.
Burning guitars,
Yeah.
fucking his amps. Excuse me, fudging his amp. And it just was, a lot of fun for me to say, let's do this, let's have this happen, let's have this, because I want people to remember at least what they see.
Right.
And we weren't playing in front of nuns and priests,
Right.
although they
No.
all drink a lot too. But
Right.
I mean, we were playing in front of crowds that, some people had to be picked up off the floor with a shovel at the end of it.
And were smudging on the road. As far as this band, you guys played a lot of the clubs here, probably all the clubs here, I imagine. Those days.
The
Were there some-
ranch. Remember the ranch?
Yeah. Were there some that were which ones were some of your favorites?
Of course,
some of the good nights.
Schooners.
Yeah.
Because it was a bank for us.
Yeah.
It was way over removed from reality on Biddle.
Yes.
And we always made good money there. We always had a crowd. I think they all, let's go see those freaks. Let's see what those freaks are doing.
We played with you at Scooters. We never made any money.
Oh, well, our openers never got paid.
That was the thing. That was always the thing. But it was such a pleasure to play with you guys. Other than the fish smell
Yeah.
and that whole thing,
Loved
that was
it. Brings me home.
It brings me home. Let me have a few shots of this, a few shots of that, and the smell of
There was a
went.
lot more bars then, and
Oh, a lot more. Yeah.
And it just, yeah, I mean, we were trying to get out of here, though, more than anything.
Well, everybody's always trying to get out of here.
Right, but a lot of people try to get out of here by going 3,000 miles.
Right.
We would go 25 miles at a time.
Yeah, which
In a
makes more
circle.
sense. Makes more sense.
And we
A
would
lot
hit
more
all
sense.
these, like we were talking about the Yes Club.
Yes.
And I mean, that was an old bar, and it was like super close to the Jackson prison. So you'd be getting guys that had been in prison for 20 years,
And that's
getting
their first
out,
stop.
and they're here. And then look like, I'm 135 pounds of hairspray, and Willie's been in prison for a long time, and he's
You're
thinking,
looking good.
"You're looking mighty fine over there."
And you guys use quite a few stage props too.
Yeah. We were saying before many times. We had the balloon drop. We had bubble machines. We had foggers. We had percussion flash magnesium bombs. We had a confetti launcher. Shot off a confetti launcher at Yes Club with money in it, with Milton Berle on it.
Look it
See,
up.
I remembered that.
Burl.
And the bar owner was mad at me because
And that
people
was
were
at the Yes
buying,
Club, right?
yeah, they were buying beer with Milton Berle money, and I'm like, how are you mad at me? Your employees took the money.
How drunk are they?
I supplied Milton Berle money on purpose, thinking no one will take this as a 20 with Milton with a cigar on it going, ha-cha-cha-cha. So, yeah.
Take it to the bank. Just
It's,
take it to the bank. It's worth something.
It's funny, and dealing with people like Joe Scroy at the Ritz and his sister-in-law, who was real piece of work. But I mean, they didn't get it at all. I mean,
Right.
some people just got angry about it, and it was like, whatever.
On your East Coast
Adventures.
tours and all that, did you ever play with any national acts?
We did. They
like
weren't national acts at the time. Heaven's Edge was the one we made really good friends with. They ended up on Columbia Records. Matter of fact, we were out in LA and they were showcasing where they do the Jimmy Kimmel show now.
Really?
Yeah, it was a shit dump. And we met, we didn't meet them. We seen them walking through the crowd. They were just signed their deal, just kind of went national. It was Slash and Duff from Guns N' Roses walking through the crowd, and one's 9 foot tall and one's 3 foot tall, and they are baked.
Duff and Slash, yeah.
They are baked, and I'm standing there with this guy, and they walk through, and it was like the parting of the seas. People were like, "Oh my god!" And we're like, "Who is that?" You know.
Who is that?
But we went and seen them, and they got signed that night, and we were kind of their cheerleaders. We were shocked to see them. They were shocked to see us there, and like I say, I mean, at that time, I mean, Cinderella was just breaking out of that. We were dealing with an older lady. I can't remember her name now. She owned this company called Rolling Thunder, and she would hook us up a lot of shows with a lot of different people. But yeah, I mean, more not around here. We didn't get a whole lot of respect in Michigan from Mad Hatter. I didn't. We weren't really trying to attack the East Side at all. We played the Ritz in New York a few times.
You had a good draw, though.
Yeah, but it's like you don't realize what you realize until after. When you're in the middle of it, you're like, well, that was terrible, or that was terrible, and then you look back and go, oh, that was not terrible.
It was okay.
Yeah.
How was your response to the record and the band on the East Coast? You guys do pretty well there?
Yeah, I mean, I think we were more of a novelty there. Everybody was, we weren't there. Like I said, we picked up on some of their stuff. That whole choreography, everybody, like that Heaven's Edge band, man, they had it down cold. Their whole show from beginning to end was like everybody knew their spot, and it went with the music, and like the whole band would do guitars, like back to back guitar spins around their neck.
Wow.
Like the whole band in sync perfectly. It was like, dang.
That's a lot of rehearsal.
And I saw a lot of weird stuff that I had never seen. Star strobes. Have you ever seen star strobes?
No.
Star strobes are like little bulbs, and they're individual strobes. And when you put them on a line, they all go off individually, and it looks like the paparazzi.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I still use
Like
it in like
okay.
prom and that. But I mean, we sold the records. I mean, here and there, that.
You were on that classic label and stuff that went.
Yeah, Hard Way. Their tagline is "We do everything the hard way."
Yeah. Who was the genius behind that?
I think that genius, his name was Mark, and I think he had something to do with either hanging out or working at Rock of Ages.
Could be. That's the guy I think of.
Yeah, his name's Mark. Don't know.
Don't know.
I think I may have known it.
And
I think his name was Mark. My parents have money.
Yeah, they're willing to give it to me.
And his parents were older, quite a bit older. I mean, he was like in his he owned the label, and he was like 24 or 5. And he was the owner of the label. But crazy enough, his mom was like at that time was like 60.
Wow.
Right. And his dad was super old, and they owned a bunch of like stores, a beauty salon, a restaurant. They owned a bunch of little dumps. But again, he was gonna pay for everything, and that was the kind of label I wanted to be on.
Yeah, of course.
Because it was all 2-inch. We ended up out at Montrose Music had a studio. They were like Rochester Hill Road and 75. That was a big music store over there, and they had a big old house. And Jeff Michaels from Big Sky ran it. He was the engineer and basically the producer on it. It was the first time I met him, and he was like the kind of guy that I felt like I'd known him for like 20 years. And he called me up when he was out there and said, "Hey, can you come run out here?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's a long way."
Yeah.
And we didn't have all the expressways we have now. And I'm like, what? I mean, meet Jack Douglas. He was doing this money grab through the studio that he would produce a song for 5.
You talk about Jack Douglas, the guy that did Aerosmith and several other big acts.
Yeah.
He would produce the song?
He would produce, and I go there, and Jeff's like, I'm like, we're not getting a record done with that guy for $5,000. And he goes, no, I just want you to meet him. I go in, he's in a bathrobe. He's got like a full beard going on, and he's just eating chocolate ice cream. And I'm like, this is it?
This is the man?
And he just really didn't have anything to say. He was just there. He had like 6 bands lined up that were paying $5,000 to get a record produced by him. And Jeff was engineering and all.
That was a lot of money in
It
those
was a
days.
shit ton of cash.
Jeez.
It really was. I don't know who these people were, but I'm sure it didn't matter.
Did you pay $5,000 to have your whole album done?
I didn't pay anything.
That's right. You didn't pay that. Do you think the investment was something like that? When you're talking about the vinyl,
he pressed
and
a ton of
cassettes.
vinyl. We pressed in Philadelphia. That's how we ended up. Of course, again, we're on this label, but everything we wanted to do, I'd have to call and figure it out and find out. Oh, this is where we're going to get it pressed, where we're going to record it, this is where we're going to do this. Here's the guy that's going to take this. The label didn't do shit.
So he
write checks.
He just said, "I'll write you a check. You do everything."
I'll handle it. Yeah,
Tell
here's
me
your
what I
pen.
have to
Handle
check.
it. And oh man, it was bad. I mean, we were in Philadelphia. I mean, at one point, and it just came to a head. We were staying at this house. Crazy enough, man. First, we walked right in the house, Tuffla, Florida. Right, Kenny Greenbaum's the singer. We walk in these people's house. I don't know from Adam. We're set up through this Rolling Thunder to go stay at this stripper's house. Go in there. There's like 3 strippers that live there. And the first picture I see is Greenbaum staring at me. I'm like, you know that guy?
That guy.
It was the weirdest thing. So we could go back there and they would hook us up. We were like in this condo with this big bus that says "Shut up and sit down" on the back of it. And we would park it in there, and the people were just hated us. And the one time though, it just like we were starving. I mean, we were buying like 10-pound bags of boiled potatoes and boiling them and just eating boiled potatoes because we were so broke. I mean, when we could break down and get a loaf of bread and a thing of bologna, man, it was like a fist fight to eat that crap. It was, and this idiot that owns the label is like going to nice restaurants and staying in a nice hotel and all this. And it's like, what is going on? He did not lift a finger, but he was always there for the applause. I own the label. We're on the second floor you know me, I'm pretty love and a flower and all that. But it was like everybody's I was gonna throw that guy off the balcony. 2 stories up. I'm like, you're done. That's it.
That would have made you famous, of course.
Well, after I got out of jail for sure. But it just was yeah, it was a lot of ups and downs. When it's happening, it's all happening so fast that you think there's no time and things have to happen, and you don't realize you can run the race at a slower pace. And
but you were doing all the work too. Nobody else.
Yeah,
in the
that
band
wasn't a lot
doing
of fun.
Did you have
booking the shows?
You had this bus that to me it's very reminiscent of the Partridge Family bus.
Yeah, it was a school bus. Pete fixed it, and
did you have a crew? How much of a crew did you have?
I had like one or two guys. John Tully, Shag Nasty.
Yeah.
He was my guitar guy, and
you trusted somebody to your guitar.
Oh, dude, that guy was like, we played in a band, Prankster, together. That's how I met him. He was like 17 when he got in that band. You could hum a song and he could play it from beginning to end. Wow. I mean, he's just his thesaurus in his head for or Rolodex is just infinite. And then he was young and he knew all these songs. I'm like, you should be writing.
Yes.
You're wasting your time on all this. But I mean, Shag Nasty's pretty much a cover band. They did record. I got him in with Al at Rust Belt, and they recorded it nice. But but he was more like just having a friend there too. Just can't be with the band 24. There's got to be little outlets, and the good thing about John is he was friendly with everybody in the band, so people could lean on him. He wasn't the greatest roadie. Right. He sometimes was not to be found.
So in other words, you had to carry your stuff once in a while.
Oh, many times.
Yeah. Was there any infighting in the band?
Not until the end.
Not until the end. I mean,
not until the end. You can't have a guitar player show up at 7 o'clock in the morning at the singer's house in a pink robe with nothing on, making eggs. By the singer. You just can't have it.
And whose girl was that?
I don't want to get into it.
Okay. So that you're saying
that was like the beginning of the end.
Okay.
I mean, things just got really and again, I'm in the long run, I'm friends with everybody I ever played with. But when it's over, I know it's over. I move on to the next thing, and I'll do the same thing there. If that's selfish, then I'm selfish. But I play music for me.
Well, you don't want to beat a dead horse.
When it's over, it's over.
Yeah.
The worst thing to do is just linger on. When you're in a band and you think the singer should go, fire him that day.
Right.
Whoever it is, or get out.
Right.
Because you're just setting yourself up to be a glutton for punishment.
Yeah.
Because it's not. People will say it'll get better. It gets worse.
Yeah.
It never gets better. And so, Pete kind of moved on, first. I mean, band was in just disrepair. It was wounded. It was just hobbling down the road. It's like, you can only change so many people in a band, and the chemistry's gone too.
Right.
I mean, that's the key is there chemistry. I mean, you can be the greatest singer in the world. If there's no chemistry, nobody cares.
That's right.
So,
were there any, from this album or this session, were there any songs that guys had recorded that didn't show up on this? I mean, did you have any other songs?
Just one. And oddly enough, it was a cover, and we wanted to remake it, which it was nothing like the Beatles did it.
Oh, it's a Beatles song.
Yeah, it was Strawberry Field.
Oh, that would have been
Lucy in the Sky. I'm sorry, Lucy in the Sky.
That would have been kind of cool with this.
So we did this little Strawberry Fields like interlude at the beginning of it, and then it went into this Lucy in the Sky thing. And it was like, I wasn't even thinking about it. We just record it and put it on there, and then Jeff Michaels is like, did you get permission for that? And we're like, from who?
From who? We want to get sued.
And it turns out it's Michael Jackson.
Yeah, well, he owned it later, yeah.
And
maybe
we wrote
at that
him.
time.
We wrote him, and it took a minute, but we got a response. They're like, you can definitely put that on the record. We get all the royalties to the whole record. And we were like, what?
Yeah, exactly.
So we're like, well, I guess we won't be putting that on the record.
That wouldn't make any sense. We're doing this whole record for Michael.
Michael needs
the money.
New shoes. So we did a video of it and this and that. But
of that song?
Yeah, it's somewhere. I'll find it for you. It is somewhere. We did it in Wyandotte.
So there was
Wyandotte Cable.
There was no other recordings you guys did in aspirations possibly of a possible second album?
No.
Nothing like that?
It just didn't get there. We were writing all the time, but we just never really were, you don't rehearse as much when you play all the time.
Right.
And we played quite a bit. I mean, we would play, Monday to Sunday. I mean, some places, you remember in the day, you would play Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Even at Studio Lounge, we would play 4 days.
Yeah, well, we never played Sunday.
Yeah, not me. No, I was at the Church of Rock.
I mean, after church, I'd go to the bar, but it was usually to hang out with Benny and the Jets over there on Wayne Road. Can't even name it.
I loved their version of Dockin'.
Yes.
It was awesome.
Well, I loved your version of Dockin'.
We didn't have one. Yeah, crazy time.
So, where are any of these guys now? Do you know?
Like I said, Tom's playing in a cover band.
Locally?
It's like acoustic. Yeah, they're called like Pure Grain, I think they're called. As a matter of fact, they're just playing right over here near Warren and near Telegraph. Like a little bar there, Ricky's or something I see. Or maybe it's coming up. It popped up on Facebook.
Oh.
And I was like, dang, he's still got his hair real long and everything. He's in real good shape and all, he's a hockey player. Always. Pete did like that Blues Airman for a while, and I guess he does it on and off a little bit. Again, Mark passed away. Krusty moved to Vegas. He did this and that. I don't know. Who knows where that guy is? He'd be selling mattresses on the moon. I have no idea. That guy.
Well, that would be a good thing, wouldn't it?
For him.
Outside of a autograph.
Yeah.
Krusty.
I'm crushing.
Are there any of the songs on here that are favorites to you?
I mean, I like them all, I guess. I mean, in some certain way.
So none of these are bad children to you? None of them? Were any of them harder to record?
I mean, I haven't listened to it in so long. I mean, I'm listening to it right now thinking, man, I haven't listened to this in a long time.
I don't know why, man. This is a great album.
Yeah, I keep evolving into something else. And that evolves into something else.
That's good,
that
too. But do you take some of this with you as far as evolution?
I mean, I know, Stick to It, or I could probably play that right now. Play it. I mean, because that was like the first song I wrote for, and it was like that didn't change at all. I mean, I didn't have to change a thing. That I was kind of like, and everybody kind of minus the vocals because I really didn't have any vocals in mine.
So Tommy wrote all the
But everybody
lyrics?
played. Yeah, like I would give them like I do sometimes in the prom and that I'll say, well, this is what I was thinking.
Right.
And
Go with
if that sparks somebody's idea, like this one. Or not this one, Canadian Club Love.
Right.
It was all about quitting drinking.
Quitting drinking.
Quitting drinking.
How many rock bands, especially at that time, are going to preach about quitting drinking?
I was trying to get a deal with Gatorade.
Gatorade?
Yeah, because when I quit drinking, I started drinking Gatorade. And our practice place was over on by Warren and Southfield. I want to say it's like Kinlock or something. I don't remember the name of the street. But the corner was like filled to the ceilings with empty Gatorade bottles. And I'm like, hey, maybe I can get an endorsement with Gatorade.
Why not?
Somebody tried to get it going. I mean, I don't know, whatever. No, obviously no. Yeah, I quit the drinking, and was probably the best thing I could do at that time. But he kind of grabbed I told him a couple of things. I can see the letters blinking in red across the water.
Sure.
I mean, they're calling out to me.
Yeah.
It's like, no, thank you. And so he kind of put a twist into it, as you knew Tom.
Yeah.
He made it into like a girl.
Right.
And he went from that angle, which was fine.
Yeah.
It worked perfectly. And it was that song was kind of more where my head was too as writing, because that song's like 9 minutes long.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm big on, I got a 47-minute song with another group.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
And how do you remember that? You don't, right? You do it once and then.
Oh, that's one and done.
One and done.
Yeah,
you might borrow some of the chords from it. Everybody's got to use an A once in a while.
We could take that on tour as a record.
That's a record. Where was the, speaking of the record, where was the artwork done for this?
We knew what we wanted, but none of us, I do abstract art, and at that time I wasn't real confident in all my other ends of it. My son's a good artist, and but I could do it. Everything I do is cartoonish anyway. But anyway, I didn't want to be the guy. I'm not gonna sit here and try to make this happen and me draw it. But I'm
right. You're doing everything else.
I gotta draw the pictures. So at the time they had opened this art, like a Institute College. There wasn't such a thing at that time. Like
Right.
there is the Art Institute of Michigan. My kid graduated from there.
Okay.
So nobody. This was like this place they taught airbrush painting and a whole bunch of other things that were more commercially. And it was in Southfield. And I made an appointment when me and McElhaney went over and talked to the dean. And he took us right to the class, right from our meeting, and said, make your pitch. And our pitch is you got a whole room full of artists here. We need this art. We know what we want. We want a logo design. They can do whatever they want, the name of the band. But we want this storybook looking thing with the characters from Alice in Wonderland that are crawling into the book. And in the book cover would be a photograph of us sitting around the table and the cakes that eat me and all that, and the girls' legs. And so we had it all figured out how we wanted to do it. How we were going to do it was we had no idea. So we went and told the class, if you do it, you get $100. And you get your name on it, it can be part of your portfolio. Well, they all dug in. They all were like, yeah. And this one kid did, like, the girl, this. He did this.
He's pointing to his check.
And pointing to his check. And we were like, great. And then he started drawing the characters and all that. So when he gets done drawing, if you look at the album cover, it was so too late. I mean, it wasn't, but it was, for me, I'm like, whatever.
Whatever, it's done.
Right. It was on lined paper.
Yeah. Line paper.
I'm like looking at it, and I go, and it's the photo shot for the album cover is done, and then I'm like, there's a red line and there's a green line. He wrote, this was on line paper. How did nobody catch this? But to me, it just added to the hilarity of the whole
the
thing.
mystique and all that.
Right, it is what it is.
Did you then renege on the $100?
No, we gave him $103 and a Pepsi.
And a Pepsi.
He hung around for a long time after that.
Did he come to the show?
Yeah, he would come to shows and bring a lot of people with him.
Wow.
This is the band I know. And he was not like some oh, look at me. Like he was like had glass. He was just like some normal dude. Like
he's like, I'm associated with these guys.
Yeah,
rock stars.
We just treat him like, we would anybody. You know? He was a good guy, and as long as you were cool, we were cool.
Right.
You
guys
cool.
were pretty damn cool. I remember that.
Yeah, we had a good
lot
time.
of
A lot of
women.
people didn't like us.
Why was that? I can't.
Because they were competing with us, and we were competing with the Stones.
Yeah, I knew that. You were on a certain. We
were trying to be the best band in Detroit.
Yeah,
we were trying to be a national act.
Yeah, you weren't going to be seduced, so you might as well.
Right, they were doing their thing.
Yeah,
we were doing our thing. Whatever.
Do you remember on average these clubs?
Yeah.
What kind of money you'd make, and was it based on the door, or did
some
you have
places was the door? I could negotiate.
Have a written contract?
We could negotiate like Slammers over there. We got $450 a night, and then if he did good, like he sold a lot of booze, they were fair. There's a lot of people that weren't fair.
Oh, yeah.
And if people weren't fair and wanted to renege, because I wasn't, like we started out, we would show up with contract, and it just was like a pain in the butt. And it was like, I'm not doing that anymore. If somebody's word isn't any good, I don't want to play there anymore.
Right.
It's that simple. They're not doing, but certain clubs, this doesn't exist in this day.
Right.
Certain clubs had a draw.
Yes, just the club alone.
Just the club had a draw.
Because they knew they had good bands that would come there and play.
Right,
there.
you could show up and bring your people with their people and have a monster night.
Yeah.
And that just doesn't happen anymore. We got a lot more dirty deals outside the area, but when somebody would do us wrong, like
you talk about East Coast,
or if we were
in
Kentucky or we were in Philadelphia or wherever we were, if somebody was him-hawing about the money, we had a little high sign like, hey, we're getting screwed here. And the guy that was with me, if I scratched my ear or whatever, he would go, we're getting screwed, and we'd steal everything. We'd steal mics, steal a case of whiskey, we'd steal, because when you're not from there, you always get invited to a party after a show. They want that Detroit band to come party with us. So if we got stiffed and we stole a case of whiskey, we always got our money.
Yeah.
Because we would sell it at the party for giveaway money.
Yeah.
So give us $5 for this fifth.
No doubt.
And
that was
it was
smart.
It was like dog.
Did they kind of expect that, especially because you're from Detroit? You were going to either
people
steal
just
or
are
kill
greasy. Them? They're just greasy.
Yeah.
They just that's music business is like a whole bunch of people that can think they can do something and about 5 people that can. So it's like you're just dealing with like everybody that's I just like promising everything and like almost every band I've been in that I'm like until I see something he can promise us the moon.
Right.
I don't give a crap who this
Right.
guy says he is. Till he does something, he's nobody to me.
That's
he's just
right.
some other guy. And it just again, that was a million years ago for me.
Did you guys, at the time when this came out, did you get, I probably know the answer to this, did you get any airplay on Wheels, who was quote unquote, Tug Cordell's baby?
I mean, we got some on the local shows. They weren't.
So you
Man,
weren't on
I'll tell you
Wheels.
what. At that time, too, man. Certains.
Yes.
If you ain't giving them an 8-ball, you ain't get shit.
Yeah, we know who you're talking
Yeah,
about.
right. So, right. And I would say, hey, that's a nice haircut. What year is this? Because he'd be with 2
Yeah.
ladies of the night looking likes.
Yeah.
And he would have so much booger sugar falling out his nose that I just wanted to blast him because to me, he was the enemy of music.
Yes, I get it. Did you have any issues with that as far as you go in there and stuff, just, whether you're opening band or whatever, you're opening up, and you do a sound check and it sounds okay, and as soon as you're on stage, there's no sound man, unless you,
But we had
grease the wheel.
we had Tim Willard was our sound man. Who
Did they allow him to do that on gear that
everybody
wasn't
knew
yours?
Tim. Everybody knew Tim.
So you
And
could
Tim
go
was
to the
great.
Toke
When you
in
have
the
your own
studio.
sound man, one thing you have is consistency.
Right, and you need that.
Right.
You
And
gotta
he
have
knew how I was supposed to sound. He knew how everything was supposed to sound. He was working as hard as the band. He was making it happen. And and we always said, make the first band sound as best they've ever sounded. Give them everything you got if they want. Give it to him. And he was obligable because he was a good guy.
Yeah.
He was just a good guy.
That's
And-
probably why we had so many good shows with you, or at least, at our level anyway. We had a great time playing with you and never thought we got, ripped up. But none of the other bands that we played with, other than I think Scarlet at the Token or something, had their own sound man.
Yeah.
Or was allowed to, access the board, unless you brought in your own
Yeah.
gear. I mean, bigger bands, Seduce, Halloween, those kind of myths, all did. Hell, a lot of them had touring boards. But, other than that, it was a rarity. And it
Well,
was
it made
just,
me realize real quick, I mean, when I did see some bands that had their own guy and how consistently good their sound was, I'm like, we have to have a sound man here.
Yes.
And he was the house guy at Schooners.
Oh, really?
That's where we met him.
Oh.
He owned that huge PA. He had that was like this, like 10 ounces of 500 pounds of
No doubt.
gear. His house had so much gear at it. He could have did the Who.
When you toured the East Coast, did he
He
use
would
that?
he would go with us.
I know, but was he using that sound?
No. We would roll in and use the house, but he was
Oh.
just very schooled in everything.
You didn't
And he
play any
knew
places where you had to bring in your own
Never.
gear? No.
Never. We would never. I mean, if you're in a cover band, yeah, we weren't. It was like, if you can't supply us a PA, we're not coming. We're not coming. A couple times it happened in different bands where we showed up. We showed up to do Wade State at lunchtime. They would do it. It was on D-Day. And they want us to play in the cafeteria, and we decide we're going to do one song. And we're going to roll in, and we set this whole thing up, and it's through Russ Beltman and all this other crap going on. We roll in there, and they're like, "Where's your PA?" It's like, you got to be kidding me. What year is this? What do you mean, where's our PA? So we ended up having to do cranked it, and I had my bullhorn, and I just, here you go, Matt, here's your bullhorn, here's your, so he just, through the bullhorn. We did one song and said, "See ya."
Could you have done an acoustic set, or you weren't set up for
We
acoustic?
didn't bring that.
You
I don't
were
think
doing
we
that.
ever. I don't think we ever did an acoustic set. I don't think I've ever done an
Acoustic
ever.
song, or you just played acoustic? Nothing? Didn't interest you?
Just was something I wasn't.
I mean,
really,
so many of these bands, like back in your day, not in your day, I'm just back in the day of this, everybody was doing acoustic.
Yeah,
they were
not
all
one.
doing these unplugged shows. MTV
I remember
Unplugged.
seeing Seduce do it at Blondie's. They did Wild Horses.
I could, well, yeah. that's
Mickey
an
was
acoustic.
drumming still then. I
Yeah.
mean, it was actually one of the first times I may have been the first time I ever seen him. The band Boyd opened for him, which had Vinny Dombrowski or Mark playing drums in that.
Sponge, right?
Right. And yeah, Mark pulled out a 12-string acoustic and sat on the corner of the stage and they did Wild Horses. It was like, what? Blew my mind.
Yeah.
And
but
followed it up with like Ballad of Dwight Fry. I'm like, what?
Yeah, well, it's a great combination.
Awesome.
Great combination.
Yeah, they played some crazy covers and it was just like their talent oozed out on.
Very pro. But you guys were pro too, all the way. Like I said, there wasn't, I mean, I went and saw you guys even when we weren't playing with you and all that. Although we were the best opening act you ever had. Knock on wood. But
that was my head.
That was his head. But no, great time. I was more into that scene, I think, than you were, because even though you were in it, I was all about it. I was buying the records, I was doing this, but I had stars in my eyes, which I shouldn't have had because we didn't have the talent you guys had. We just had a show.
You never know who's gonna make it.
Right.
It's a crapshoot.
I know, but still. But it was a fun time. It was a
I did
years
have
ago.
fun. I always had fun. I wasn't always doing what I wanted to do.
Right.
But I was having fun. But it was like the whole thing with us was like our attitude became just like we just really didn't care what people thought.
Yeah.
Or you wanted to judge us. That's your problem.
Yes.
You can judge us. Oh, you don't like my shoes? Awesome.
Don't come back.
care.
Yes.
Don't care. You're never coming back. See ya.
Good luck.
I'll be here.
Right.
If it's one person or me in the middle of a field yodeling, I'll be doing what I wanted, and I really don't care. But yeah, we would get a lot of hate.
Was there any time during this or in that period where you thought of giving it up? That the
Oh,
scene was
never.
just-
I'm not even now.
No, I know
It's
not
my
now.
whole world.
But
It's
I mean,
no, because I knew, like I was saying before, I knew if something took a crap, I would be doing something else the next day. I wasn't gonna pine about it, sit around and say, "Oh, poor me, what am I gonna do?"
Would
I
you
would
say
say,
you're
"I'm
gonna
gonna
do
start a
some-
new band."
or start a new band or become a plumber or, you know. 'Cause
Never.
I know you're a major handyman. Also.
Yeah.
Rob put in my dryer. He installed my
Yeah, I could do a lot of things because I'm a musician. You have to learn how to fix a lot of crap because you can't afford to
Non-stop.
buy it.
All right, well, we're going to end this here by saying it's been great talking to you. Sorry it took 111 times to get this recording down.
I
It's
love
always
600
fresh.
takes.
It's always fresh.
That's
It's always
something.
new. We ran out of music, so I've added something in,
Perfect,
but
perfect.
that's okay. Do you mind if I put a seduce song?
I would prefer
Mickey Dolenz.
illegal.
Illegal. I can put something from Mickey in here if you like. Mickey don't. But then I
You got any rag dolls?
Rag dolls, yeah. I can look them up. Anyway, this has been Motor City Rock Talk. My guest today has been Rob Miller.
Support this guy. He
Yeah.
cares.
Anyway, as I always like to say, keep rocking.